Hey y'all, welcome to Bama Blue Dots. I'm Kat.
And I'm Michelle.
Today we're going to be joined by Pixie, otherwise known as Steph, who some of y'all may recognize from TikTok and her work with Indivisible Mobile, DSA, and SDEC. She's going to talk about her experience at the SDEC meeting, what we can do to really fix the shit that's wrong with the state Democratic Party. So, Steph, we're so excited you joined us today. Tell us about you and what you do.
Yeah, so I am a political activist here in Mobile. I'm the co-chair of our local DSA, or Democratic Socialist of America group. I am also the chair of the LGBTQ committee for the Mobile County Democrats, and I create political content on TikTok focused on transparency, accountability, and mobilizing regular folks.
Awesome. Well, we are so glad you came to hang out with us today. We obviously took a couple of weeks off. We hope everyone had an amazing Thanksgiving. And we really want to kick it off with our what the fucks. Is what made you scream what the fuck this week or last couple of weeks? I've got to ask, what is going on with the White House? I mean, between the rage tweeting, he was tweeting 2 per minute, or truthing, whatever you call it, 2 per minute on Thanksgiving night. How do you even type that fast or think that fast?
I don't think he was thinking.
We all know he's not lucid.
No, it was almost like a Ambien night shopping where you just don't realize what you're doing. And I wonder if he has some type of combination of meds, sundowning and stuff. He's just hand fisting his phone or tablet, whatever they've given him.
Oh, the after anesthesia shopping? Nobody's ever done that.
Mine is ordering fast food.
I told the nurse my husband had long, glorious golden curls. She came out into the waiting room looking for a grown man curls, and
I feel like she's looking for a Viking.
that is not my husband. He's got short hair, and he goes, no, that's our child.
But, I mean, it's like the incompetency has just gotten so much more obvious lately. I mean, it's always been there, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but like we're having Signalgate 2.0. We're bombing random boats in the Caribbean that are headed for Suriname and not the United States. JD Vance somehow made a Thanksgiving address awkward.
And the thing is, it's not even just incompetence anymore. It's absolutely unhinged behavior for any human being, let alone leaders of the free world.
That's what's so terrifying. Like, on its face, a lot of it is kind of funny until you think, oh my God, these people possess the nuclear code.
Obama couldn't walk out in a tan suit. He couldn't use Grey Poupon. Biden couldn't even have an ice cream cone and kiss his grandchild's head during a moment when the child needed comfort without people flipping their lids. And here you have this whole administration just losing its mind, and they're like, whatever.
He's falling asleep. Like, and we're not even talking about like maybe the camera caught him when he was blinking or something like that. Like, no, he's straight up snoozing in the middle of these meetings.
Imagine if Biden had been caught on camera doing that.
There were photos that you caught of him where he was, we all blink and he's falling asleep. This man is actually, like, we can see it happening. Like, he's entering a circadian rhythm. Like, he is not there. And the same people who were just all up in arms about Biden's health are now suddenly
Silent.
And, Mike Johnson got cornered. I can't remember who it was not too long ago who cornered him and said the president is not well. He is unhinged and he is saying insane stuff. Mike Johnson couldn't make eye contact. But then instead of trying to defend it, he said, well, people on your side are too.
We don't want unhinged on either side.
We don't want that either. But also, the ones on our side aren't the president. I wouldn't feel comfortable with Trump driving a vehicle right now.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be at the helm of our military.
Certainly not.
And for his first his first term, he had the training wheels, and now he doesn't because of Doge and these decisions they made when they first came in, just shutting everything down. And that was the whole point, was to create this bedlam of chaos. So we don't know where to look to exhaust us as a whole. So they could come in and they could just pass these different bills that are slowly stripping away our rights.
And I think with his first term too, he had a bit of a bench. He had some somewhat qualified people in their roles. I would say that his first cabinet was definitely more qualified than his second one has been so far, at least on paper. I'm still not saying that I liked any of them, but he had people who at least could on paper be justified to have that role.
Like, they at least knew how the government worked.
Yeah, and there were people outside of his cabinet that still kept the reins on them and kept them in line. Those people aren't there now because they either resigned
Were fired.
or fired, and now there's nothing, and this is what happens. And honestly, it's almost like what we see in corporate America when like you have these businesses take over and the leadership is absolutely incompetent, and what once was somewhat stable now is just absolute nightmare, and it just becomes gutted out and hollow.
And I think a lot of it too is there was the knowledge during his first term that he would need to get reelected. He would need to be able to at least keep MAGA intact and keep the people happy enough to vote for him a second time. Versus this time, I mean, he really doesn't give a shit. And I don't think he's lucid, period. For him to say, I mean, he came out this week and said affordability is a hoax created by the Democrats.
What?
Yeah, he came, like, literally said it out loud. Affordability is a hoax created by the Democrats.
Tell my grandparents that because they could afford a lot with 8 kids back in the 50s and 60s, 70s, even into the 80s.
Yeah, I could see maybe that lie getting the younger groups, but like people still exist who remember affordability.
But I mean, baby boomers, Gen Xers, like every generation can see right now things are not as affordable as they were last year or the year before or years before that. We are in a true affordability cost of living crisis in this country. I can't think of a single person I know personally whose dollar is stretching further than it did last year.
Oh, absolutely. No, I went to the store the other day, got like 3 cases of soft drinks and some paper towels, a thing of toilet paper, and all this stuff was on sale. And I somehow still managed to spend $100. I had like 10 things in my cart. And I didn't even get anything like super nice. And I was like, how did I just spend $100? This is what I would expect to spend like $40 on. I remember when a case of Coke was like $4 and now it's like $12, $13, $14.
I used to do grocery shopping for a family of 4 for like $200 a month. And now like $100 doesn't even feed my family at a full week. Like that's just maybe a couple of dinners that last.
Yeah.
Like that's what Justin, like it's just me and my husband in our house. We don't have any kids. It's just us and the animals. And that's about what we spend just for the two of us. It's, to say affordability is a hoax is a real slap in the face to Americans. And what's pissing me off the most is to see people like Barry Moore and Tommy Tuberville and Katie Britt real fucking quiet about it and not speaking up and saying something about this. Say what you want about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I've found her agreeing with me. I'm trying not to say that I don't agree with her. She agrees with me. But she's actually one who is sitting there and calling the administration out on this and saying it's bullshit. Why won't our senators and Congress people do that?
Because they make money off of us staying poor. I mean, they do. When they have invested into companies that then turn around and invest into our poverty or making us impoverished, they may not directly give their money, but they are letting people manage their investment that do heavily invest in those things. It's ridiculous. And it's like you should not benefit off the suffering of people, especially the people you represent.
So Tommy Tuberville's time in office, he has gained 7 point some odd million dollars of wealth, trading primarily in industries that he sits on the board of. It is he's in it completely for profit.
Let me guess, they're also in Florida too.
Probably. They probably in his home state where he lives. And, the thing is, he doesn't care about us. We're poor, and this isn't going to affect him. Trump saying insane things about affordability isn't going to hurt him because he's a millionaire, a multimillionaire.
I mean, the man did bankrupt a casino. When people say to me all the time, oh, Trump's a businessman, Trump's a businessman. How do you bankrupt a casino? It is the only business model where people give you money with no genuine expectation of anything in return.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, you want to go and win, but the house is stacked to always win. The odds are always in favor of the house. How do you lose?
I don't
You have
understand.
to be so poor at running a business.
And he robs Peter to pay Paul, and that's what gets me about people. Like, yeah, he was a TV personality and he got the excuse, but there was enough evidence out there, like the whole Central Park Five. Like, I cannot get over that. That was so televised. That was in newspapers. He made such a huge stink about it in the 90s and 2000s. He hounded these poor men even after they were exonerated. And there was all kinds of things about him ripping off his contractors, his small business owners.
And there was, there's a lot that went into how he was able to kind of come out of that scot-free. New York has a very long sordid history with Trump. I have to have my father come on this podcast one night and talk about it, because New York versus Trump has been an ongoing thing for decades. There's two people that New York hates most in this world. They are Andrew Cuomo and Donald Trump. And it is a race for the bottom of their favor. But Trump has been known, like you said, to not pay his vendors. Apparently, he's not paying the people who tore down the East Wing.
And now can't rebuild it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's like permitting issues and they found asbestos and stuff. Like, you're supposed to go about, restoring historic buildings a certain way, not just because they're historic, but also because of the safety issues that it presents.
And I mean, you have so many different issues. You have wiring, lead paint, and all that creates dust. And
That's all Trump needed was more lead paint poisoning. That's all he needed for his brain. I wonder if that's why he was acting really normal when Mom Donnie came around. Like, maybe some of that lead paint fumes is sort of like
Balance.
yeah, balance everything out or something. But I don't know. It's just all of the incompetencies are just really starting to get evident, or not, they've been evident. What I'm trying to say.
Get out of hand.
Yeah, visible
Yeah.
and just ridiculous.
they're not even trying to hide it anymore. I think before it was very kind of covert.
Did you see the
yeah.
thing on the Secretary
Mhm.
of War, Pete Hegseth? They were doing a like a press conference or cabinet meeting, and the name placard, it was paper and printed out, and it said Secretary of War, but there were two S's in secretary. And I was like, that's either, and of course some people on the left were like, oh, well, they're just putting the, saying the quiet part out loud. But I was like, even if that was just a typo, this is the president of the United States and his cabinet. Does nobody have spell check at all? Nothing. And like I said, it's just getting to the point where I don't even know if they're trying to distract, like the two S's in front of secretary. I genuinely wonder if that was them trying to, elicit a reaction from the left. But regardless, it just makes you look stupid. Just makes you look dumb. And why is your only purpose in life right now seem to be owning the lib? Shouldn't you be doing your job?
Well, no, because he can't keep his fan base by actually doing his job. He keeps his fan base by being outrageous and triggering the libs and speaking what's on his mind. That's always the one that gets me. Speaks what's on his mind. His mind does not need to be spoken out loud.
Who else? Did y'all watch The Office? Okay, whenever Ryan did Creed Thoughts,
Oh gosh, yes.
and he opened a word. I'm convinced that whenever Trump goes radio silent on, when certain news drops, like the 24 hours after the petition went through, he went radio silent. I have in my head this vision of him sitting in a corner, like rage tweeting on a fake kid's phone,
Oh, God.
like
Yeah.
Ryan did to Creed in The Office, where he's like Creed set up a blog, but it was just like a Word document because nothing that's in Creed's brain should ever see the outside world. But I really envisioned that being Trump on those weekends when he just goes radio silent. Like, they turn the Wi-Fi off, they swapped out his phone, and he's just got like when you give your kids your old cell phone to play with.
No SIM card.
Yeah, there's no SIM card.
Or it's a duplicate of social
Yeah.
that is not
But-
actually published.
And he's just sitting there like, angrily rage tweeting.
I think they did in his first presidency.
Yeah, well, he didn't own Truth Social. That's the thing, is he would have to at least abide by other companies' terms and conditions. You don't have to do that when you own the social media platform.
He got permanently banned from Twitter.
He did. Same as, like Nick Fuentes.
You know he's never had a girlfriend? I know this will shock you. Yeah, he admitted to it on like a podcast or something like that. Like, he knows nothing about women at all. I don't think he's ever spoken to one, honestly. I think he's just one of those guys he's basically an incel with a really large microphone.
But what gets me is like, your last name is Fuentes. Hold on, you little racist. Come on back, Tez. Do you think that is a traditional East European last name?
It's Spanish.
Exactly. And they're getting left out. You notice they're throwing their little hissy fits because this is how the administration is edging closer, is they start leaving out their fringe groups first.
Nick Fuentes never really was in the he was too dangerous. Charlie Kirk was definitely more of the sort of golden boy for the right and Turning Point USA. Nick Fuentes has always been kind of on the fringe. He was kind of the Glenn Beck and Alex Jones.
Yeah, but he pulled in all the extremists, and that's why he was included. Now they're just being left out. Even Tim Pool talked about how he was left out by Turning Point USA. So even he's getting kind of the cold shoulder because I feel like in their minds, they don't need him anymore.
A lot of that is Israel, too. Like, Nick Fuentes and it kind of pissed me off. Like, you ever agree with somebody and you're like, the math you took to get there was so wrong? He and I both are not fans of the Israeli government and Netanyahu. For me, it's because of war crimes. For him, it's because he actually hates Jewish people. Come to the same conclusion, we just took very different paths to get there. And I think that's a big piece of it. He has been very, very outspoken against Israel and Netanyahu, not, again, because of war crimes, but because he legitimately is an anti-Semite. But I think that's a big piece of it, too, the reason he's being left out of. And Candace Owens, as well, has been very, very critical of Bibi Netanyahu. And as we know, AIPAC and the GOP are besties. So I think Israel has a much bigger impact on that than any sort of perceived credibility. And I think AIPAC has really become sort of the cancer that exists on our government. Yeah. The more I find out about it, the more I'm just really seeing so much of what we're experiencing in this country right now is by design. And
if you look into AIPAC's donations, you understand how we got where we are today.
And there's a lot more that goes into that, too, which we're going to talk about after the break.
Want more Bama Blue Dot content? Make sure to follow us on Blue Sky, TikTok, and YouTube at Bama Blue Dots, or visit us at BamaBlueDots.com.
Welcome back. So we have got to talk about what happened in Tennessee. Was this a win? I mean, I know we didn't win, but
yeah, the fact that they moved the polls that much. I mean, this is a district that Trump won by 22 points in, and she lost by 8? Some really insanely low amount. It is a huge win. Even if we didn't win the district.
I don't think anyone realizes how gerrymandered their area is until it becomes so apparent, because you have this great turnout and then you still lose and you're like, why? And then you go look at how the maps are set and you're like, how did we let this happen?
Well, I was seeing a lot of posts from people in Nashville who said, I showed up to vote and didn't realize that this wasn't my district. And it's crazy. I didn't realize this about Tennessee. I didn't know that Nashville, being a very, it's a blue city, doesn't have a single Democrat representing it at the federal level because of the way they've cut that city up into districts. I can't think of another major city that has been basically gerrymandered out of existence.
They do everything they can to dilute progressive voters' voices.
I mean, we see it in real time, like Alabama. They've been trying to do it to us here because Birmingham's so blue, because Mobile's so blue, trying to mash them together when they're so far apart from each other. So they only get one single representative versus two or three, and it's just very apparent when you're in a red state that has the occasional blue areas that they smash them together or try to divide them up versus blue states.
Yeah. I mean, it just really makes you wonder, is the fact that we're all blue dots, I mean, it really, it's by design.
Oh yeah. They and the thing is we're not just little blue dots. I mean, you've seen what our local area can do. You've seen what it's made of. You've seen the numbers turn out for protests. You know we're not lonesome little blue dots in the middle of a giant red wave. There are thousands of us. We're just not able to vote like in a way that like has us represented.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I think back to the way I was raised. I was raised in Fairhope. Now I've got a lot of friends and family up in New England, and I went to college up there. And as I talk to my friends now in a time that we're living in, which is just so insane, do y'all think there is a difference between northern progressive or blue state progressives and red state progressive?
Oh, absolutely. They have the ability to be so comfortable in their own homes that they don't understand the struggles that I am afraid to tell a stranger that I voted for Kamala. Like that could be a death sentence for me. They have no concept of that fear.
And they're so keyed into, so like if there's an issue, they go out and they immediately protest. Like they're constantly protesting. You look in these areas where here, like Pixie said, it's just you don't have the unification and just like support system because people are so fearful. And I think a lot of it has to do with society and how we were raised around here of being very like in step with like don't buck the system, don't stand out, don't do this, just be quiet, just especially for women, where that's not how women are raised up north. It's like, hey, you be independent, you do this, you do that, and they're able to voice themselves and have a sense of self where it's very Stepford wife here. And I think that is very regressive. And so even progressive women here in the South are not as vocal nor have the skill set to go out and cause a ruckus.
But I'll say this though, as we've seen these ICE raids, in different various cities, there was obviously a lot of I was one of those people that said like, oh my God, when they go into Boston, this is going to be hilarious. And Boston did push back. Boston did not let did not let anybody down. But what really surprised me was that Southern progressives, we seem to be a bit more feral than Northern progressives. Like, did y'all see the lady, the mamaw in North Carolina? Swear to God, this woman comes out of her house, gun loaded, moo on. I guess they tried to talk to like some of the men who were, I guess, doing like her landscaping or something like that. She comes out of the house packing heat, and I said, full moo.
Curlers in the hair.
Yes. And she's like, get off my property. Like, she went nuts. And I think that just comes from us being we always have to be on our guard and we're ready to fight.
They absolutely are. Like they chased these men into the woods wearing camouflage during hunting season. They knew what they were doing.
And I think that's why they've historically stayed away from here too. It's not because they're red states. We have maps that show that our diversity has changed in the past 20 years, just even here in Alabama. I think they're just scared. I think they really are because we are truly an unknown when you start messing with people's homes. We're very much like defend your ground, and they know that a lot of people have guns here and they are messing with the wrong people. Because I always tell people, like, I look fancy, I look bougie, but I can damn sure like field dress a squirrel with a rusty spoon. Don't test me. I will straight up like go full on Lord of the Flies. Like, don't test me.
What's so confusing to me is that the South has always been so anti-government. We've always been, like, we don't like the police, we don't like the law, we don't like the government. Like, that is very much the Southern mentality throughout all of history until now.
They've gone from bootlegging to bootlicking.
From bootlegging to bootlicking.
I love that.
Yeah, we gotta make that a t-shirt or something like that. It's so true. Like we have it just I've never been able to understand where this happened because like I said, they've always been keep the government away from me. I don't want government in my I don't want them touching my guns. I don't want them touching my religion. I don't want them doing stuff. And then all of a sudden authoritarian regime is there.
Yeah.
Well, I think because that authoritarian regime is fighting for what they want for themselves. If it was infringing on what they were wanting.
See, that's what pisses me off about this infringement. We don't want to change how they live. We just want more choices for everyone. So if you want to live like that, great. That's a choice. I want to live a different way. That's a choice. They just want everyone to live their way because they don't want to have to think about other people's choices, and it's all about control with them. It's controlling other people and making sure because for whatever reason it just ruins their world. God forbid somebody looks different than them or has a different choice than they do. And I keep telling them, like, it's not about promoting somebody else's choice. It's just about having those choices available.
100%. And that's, we see it all the time. There's always the war on Christmas, quote unquote, which is saying happy holidays is apparently, the tantamount to saying your religion is fake. Like, that's not what that is. Inclusivity is not an attack on you and your civil liberties. It is
I'm not
inclusivity.
assuming your religion.
Exactly. It's a whole holiday season.
Halloween could be included in that. Like,
Or Thanksgiving. We say happy holidays. We don't just say happy Thanksgiving.
or what I do is if someone says to me, Merry Christmas, oh, thanks, you too.
Because they think rights are pie. There's not enough to go around.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of times people in bluer states don't understand is that we're up against pretty much the ultimate victims.
Yes.
Down here, we are the minority. We are. But they act as though we are trying to wage war on them. We're not. We just want the right to exist and make our own decisions about our bodies and live amicably with all people, regardless of race, religion, gender, sexuality, creed, whatever.
But that's been drilled into their head now for 30, 40 years between Rush Limbaugh, Newsmax, Alex Jones. Like, they have been put in this fight or flight mode.
Oh, it goes back to the Heritage Foundation and Reagan, because what they realized is that Reagan's economic policies were not going to go over well with middle class and average Americans. So what they did is they figured out, well, what if we repackage these shitty economic policies with your morality and your religion? So that makes it a lot more appealing to people when you tie it in that way. So that's where a lot of this started. So if you go back to the Heritage Foundation, they're responsible for all this bullshit. Them, Roger Ailes, and Reagan. I think one thing that the Democrats, where we've really lost it, is that so much of the Democrat establishment is from these progressive blue areas. And they don't realize that there is a significant population in red areas. There's more people than they think exist here, but also we're suffering too. And a lot of the issues I think come from ignorance. Like, there was a person I work with who is not from around here, and witnessed actual racism for the first time in practice. She saw somebody being typecast due to their race and discriminated against for it. And she told me, oh my God, Kat, I didn't think that happened anymore. I think it was a huge light bulb moment for someone who has always thought that, never understood what DEI truly was and has really bought into the Fox News sort of brand of, if anything, it's reverse racism. I think that's a huge piece of it, is that there are a lot of people in these bluer states who just don't see it because we're the ones down here that are actually having to live in the shit.
We're the ones who have friends, and they're part of our Black African American communities, our Spanish communities, our Vietnamese, and we see this. We watch them go through it, and it's very disturbing, but it's almost normalized down here. That's just how I couldn't imagine going to a store and people watching me thinking I'm going to steal, or being pulled over by the cops and wondering if today is going to be the day that I die. Not because I did anything wrong, just color of my skin? Am I gonna go to jail? Am I going to be framed for something? Like, there's all these fears that we don't have to deal with. We don't have to deal with them because the color of our skin doesn't mean they don't exist for somebody else, and it's recognizing that, and it's crazy, and but I've been in blue states, and it doesn't feel like it's the same. It doesn't feel as it's pervasive or in your face like it can be down here.
And I feel like too in a lot of these states, like I'm looking at what's going on right now in Minnesota with the Somalian population, the Somali population that endorsed Trump and supported Trump. Well, now Trump, on Thanksgiving, because what else do you do on a national holiday about giving thanks for things that you currently have, decided to attack Tim Walz and talk about how Somalians are taking over the state of Minnesota. And people in Minnesota were pretty quick to clap back.
It's no different than the Arab community that was in
Dearborn, Michigan.
Dearborn, Michigan.
I feel like they do all have their own brand of racism because you know that people in these states do talk negatively about others.
Like, whereas here, it is like just hateful. People still believe segregation should be a thing.
Yeah.
They believe in lynching still. I mean, we have people in hoods in different wearing white hoods in different parts of like Anniston, Alabama. Like there's still Klan meetings.
Oh, there's been arguments about them trying to remove trees that were utilized for that historically. And people said, oh, no, but it's just a beautiful historic oak.
There is one at Blakely State Park. There is still a lynching tree.
That's the one I was talking about.
I'm like, that tree is, people lost their lives there because they were Black. That is the only reason. I grew up in Louisiana. It is just as bad there as it is here. It's disgusting that like families will actually disown or harm their children because they date a Black person. And that's still relevant today.
I mean, that's how I found out my family was racist. Was one of my older cousins had the gall to date a Black man and then get pregnant with a child. I know. And she was completely ostracized. And I got to hear my uncle, who's not that much older than me, say the hard N word about his nephews. And I was like, what? And then the words out of my own mom's mouth talking about how she just would be so upset if I brought home a man of color. What family am I even in?
It's insane. My mom was one of the kindest, most like amazing human beings to exist. And my sister was afraid to tell her that she was dating a Black man. And my mom just thought that was, why would you be afraid to tell me? Because she raised us, we were dirt poor. Like, nobody is better than us, and we are better than nobody. Your skin color doesn't matter. The content of your character does, And so, like, where did that fear come from? Obviously, it came from the society that we were growing up in Southern Louisiana being inherently racist.
Right now, like we're talking about all these issues that we are facing, what can we do? Like, what can we do to change anything? Is there anything that we can do on our, at our level, so to speak?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things is exercising your right to vote. You should get out there in every election. Like I will say this when we go back and we talk about the Democrats and stuff, especially in the South and everything, is we have pushed off our responsibility in being part of this process into the swing states. In other words, we let the DNC, the national, tell us that we don't matter because we're in a red state and that we should concentrate all of our efforts on these swing states. And so we decided that we no longer mattered. We let our voices be taken away. And so we need to reclaim that because we do matter. It doesn't matter if we always lose. We should go out swinging every freaking time. And that matters. And I don't care how old you are, you need to be in your local civics. You need to understand how the government works. And by God, if you don't like the dang people being put up, for office, run for office, then you need to run for office or you need to go out there and do the work. But it is work. And right now, we have about 30, 40 years of just whatever attitude now are scrambling to try to fix and do that. So we need help, like we know being in the Baldwin County Executive Committee, just how hard it is to get people involved and engaged. And that's part of why we're doing what we're doing here, is to kind of maybe spark some fire in people, get involved, understand what's happening.
Well, my thing is, I want to be the granny in the moo. That's, I mean,
Know what our next protest costumes are
oh,
going to
I'm
be.
so wearing a moo. I wore a unicorn to the last one. Like, moo will be way more comfortable. That
Yeah.
thing was hot as hell. So miserably hot in those inflatables. But I want to be the granny in the moo. We've got to, like, there's a lot of, we're a table of white women. There is a privilege that comes with that. And if we waste that,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to start using our privilege where we can. And I'm not trying to say we need to be the white saviors. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is when we see something wrong, we say something about it.
We need to be showing up at these ICE raids and causing trouble, because there's no question that we're U.S. citizens. I'll fight somebody. And the thing is, we don't need to be white saviors, but we need to be loud. We need to be angry.
We need to put our white bodies in front of the people who can't.
Well, and also holding other white women accountable too. Because right now, I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but in the last year or so, the people who were real quick to tell you they voted for Trump this time last year, they aren't as proud of it.
Yeah, they're a little quiet now.
They're a lot quiet now. And I think that's a big piece of it, is forcing them to reckon with that decision and having these conversations and explaining to them that, yes, you were lied to, but that you had all the homework there. It was an open book test. You've got to not center yourself as the victim in this and say, oh, I was lied to. You allowed yourself to be lied to.
And now you need to put in the work to fix it.
Exactly.
And that's it. I think it's getting involved. And guys, I always tell people, remember, we have a two-party system, like it or not. That's just where we're currently at. So if you're on the fringe, if you're on the outside, hate Democrats, but I'm telling you that hate is up towards the top at the DNC. Keep that hate there, because they do. They need to be gutted out. And even maybe at your state level, but you need to be the change you want to see. You need to get involved, because the only way we're going to make an improvement is not burning it down. Doesn't work like that in any capacity. So what you can do is get involved locally in your county. You may find they're a lot more progressive, and most of them are ready to pass the torch on. There's just nobody to pass it to. And you've got to stop being disenfranchised and tuning it all out. That's not going to solve it. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be a lot of work. Yes, it's going to be exhausting. But by God, we're going to come out of this.
And we're going to learn more about that from Pixie, her experience with the State Democrat Executive Committee. But after the break, we're going to play some of our favorite games. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. To help us connect other Blue Dots in Alabama and get bonus content, make sure to follow us on YouTube at Bama Blue Dots. All right, Pixie. So we like to end every episode with a game. Some of these games are real. Some of them are made up. Points don't matter. But today we're going to play a fun one that I came up with called Elect, Slap, Deport. So you're familiar with Fuck, Kill, Marry?
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of that, because we want to be able to monetize, we're going to play Elect, Slap, Deport. So first one is Tommy Tuberville, Barry Moore, Katie Britt.
God, that's such a hard one. Okay, so just because my dream would be to slap him, obviously, I'm going to slap Tuberville. If he could also be deported, that would be great, but I'll settle for just yeah, exactly. One of those from deep down in your soul that you've been just holding on to. That's the kind of slap I want to give him. So slap Tuberville. I mean, Barrymore likes to run anyways, so he can skedaddle and be deported. And then I guess we'll We'll elect Katie Britt only because she's so useless. It's not like she could do.
The least bad of the three.
Yeah, she's the least bad of the three, and like all we've gotten from her is crash test dummies.
We got Lulu's Law. Yeah, we'll give her props for Lulu's Law. That is something we have needed down here for a very long time.
She is the least harmful, and I could tolerate her.
Next one is a little bit harder. JD Vance, Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth.
Let's see. I would definitely deport Miller just because he.
And I feel like slapping him requires like physical touch, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be cursed.
Thank you. Deport him. And then it was JD Vance and who?
Pete Hegseth.
I think though, like okay, so we talk about intellectual and like who's backing who. I would slap JD Vance. I'd slap him so hard. I would just for his kids. I would slap that man so hard just for the pain and suffering he's putting his kids through. I can't imagine the damage he's done to his kids. Coming from a home where you feel like you're unloved and like unwanted or hated, like that is a scar on people's soul for like eternity, and there's no coming back from that. So I would slap him. I would elect Pete Hegseth because he is so just stupid. Like I don't think he could fight his way out of a paper bag.
We could put one of those things like, you know, the things that you give to people after they've gotten DUIs where like you have to breathe in.
Yeah.
So you just start the car. Government has an on-off switch, so you just like blow in the tube and like you may enter and go to work now. See, I would elect Vance because he's the least, like he's the most malleable, I feel like, of the other two. Like Stephen Miller is evil. I'm pretty sure he's a Horcrux. Like I would not be surprised. Like he is actually a demon. Hegseth is just a douche. JD Vance is hella insecure. He's definitely probably the easiest to manipulate, and I think he would be the least effective, but like the other two would be really effective in really horrible, horrifying ways. JD Vance just makes everything so awkward. Or like when he went to that donut shop and she's like, "What can I get for you?" He goes, "I don't know, whatever makes sense." It's a donut shop.
Whatever makes sense. Have you been to a donut shop? Are you from this planet?
Oh, fellow human, I would like one human experience with the donut shop, please.
That's what I'm saying. I probably liked him just because he's so unlikable and he's so, like, I feel like he's the easiest to, like.
I genuinely can't think of a single person who like enjoys his personality in any way.
I mean, someone married him, had kids with him, so.
I mean, she doesn't even look. She's got the Melania stare going on lately in public.
Women are okay to age. Like, there's nothing wrong with
No,
women.
if you can age a woman of color that quickly.
And that's the thing, like Obama aged horribly while he was in office, but he was the actual president. What is happening that the wife of the vice president is aging so much?
I mean, you get like, yes, she has 2 young children, but like that shouldn't even, she's getting the Melania stare, which is that I don't want to be here. Except when Gavin Newsom walks up and Melania like lights up.
Probably flicking like gabapentin at her, you know. You like give to your cat or dog before the vet visit and her wine.
The Trashy Dazzy. I'll never forget whenever Gavin Newsom met Donald Trump at the tarmac, and Gavin Newsom like just reaches in and gives Melania like the sweetest, warmest. She like leaned into it. She was like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, Trump touches her. She's like, yeah.
All right, last one: DeSantis, Abbott, or Meemaw, and Meemaw being Governor Kay Ivey.
So we're gonna go ahead and just reelect Meemaw because she's got cancer yet again.
He's like Wolverine.
I don't know, man. They say she'll pass anything but away, so maybe not.
But she is the least
effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she just signs whatever's on her desk. So if we get the right people below her, it'll be fine.
Deport Abbott.
Deport him.
There's also an opposite thing. Like, I feel like I couldn't slap a man in a wheelchair. As awful as that sounds, like, there's some sort of thing in there, just like, I can't do it. But also to deport him would just be so.
It would be so, deport him to a country that doesn't have accommodation.
Just wheel him across the Mexican border.
Yeah, because the cartel will be waiting on him.
Oh, Let's do it.
Can we do it with the squeaky wheels like
Yeah.
they had for the tank in the Trump's parade?
Play that as we roll them across the line. And then obviously just slap the shit out of DeSantis.
I want to take one of his wife's improper evening gloves that she wears for daytime events and just smack him with it.
Why? What is like, why?
All the Medicare fraud, like everything that has happened there, and the constituents of Florida need to be able to line up and just slap. I think that would solve all of our problems is if the representatives, they did shit like that, and then all their constituents got to line up and just slap them. One right after the other, just like a public slapping. And just
If we could solve the charge $1, they'd probably save the national debt. Make it a pay-per-view event.
I would spend all of my dollars just to slap like a handful of politicians repeatedly.
be like, Pixie, you're back again.
Get a frequent flyer card.
I can buy 10 slaps, get one free.
Oh my God. All right. It's been so much fun having y'all on today. For part 2 of this episode, where we dive into the complex issues facing the state Democratic Party, tune in on Spotify or YouTube and make sure to follow Steph on TikTok at Glyterpixie, Glyter. Bye, y'all.